Okay, hi everybody, and welcome back to Ask a Greenleaf Author. I'm so lucky to be joined today by Nita Patel, author of Boss Fives, Self-Esteem, Success, and the Art of Etiquette. So we have some great questions lined up for Nita today, so let's just jump right into those. Question number one, Nita, when did you decide to write your book, Boss Fives?
Hi. So I decided to write my book about 4 years ago. And I had always wanted to write a book, but I didn't quite know what it was going to be about. And I was in a point in my career where I was interviewing and hiring a lot of people. And that sparked some thoughts as to what I could write about. And so I started taking notes, and it was over time that I started writing notes, and then I said, okay, let me start writing stories, let me start journaling. So it was overall like almost a 2.5 year process to the
Wow.
point from where I had the thought to where I actually started writing in book format and I finished.
So it just started off as notes basically. And at what point were you like, this could be a book that you start compiling these notes into a certain, topic of conversation?
Yes, everything was really focused around personal presence and how you conduct yourself. And I think the more stories I started writing down on that very specific topic, and that wasn't my intention. I was just writing the craziest stories that I came across or that happened that day. Like, can you believe this person did this? Or can you believe? And I just started writing all of those down. And at the end of, a couple of months, I went back and read everything and I said, I have a topic here and I need to make it into a book. And so that's where I decided to formulate it into a book.
Awesome. So who did you intend to write this book for? Is there anyone that particularly inspired you to write this book?
Um, I would say the book is really for everyone, whether you're a professional or a teen, or anything in between. The book is really for everyone. But what specifically inspired me to write this book was, like I said, it was in that mid-professional level of people that I was hiring. And I noticed this gap of people not knowing how to show up, whether it was for an interview or whether it was for a big meeting, or how they conducted themselves in the office. And then they kept, asking to work on the big projects, or they would ask for promotion. And there were these components that they were missing to how they presented themselves. And as our brand is what sells us. It creates a perception about us. And, I just felt the need to share what those things were to help people elevate their brand so that they could have what they wanted.
So you spotted a problem and you came up with a solution. I love that. Oh, awesome. Okay. So what was the hardest part about the publishing process for you?
Um, I would say because it took me so long to write the book, and I went through two iterations of editing as well. And so I was a different person when I started writing the book, and I was a different person when I finished writing the book. And the beginning of my book was almost coming from a place of frustration, like, why don't people know how to, dress at an interview? Or why don't people know how to present themselves? And by the end of the book, it was really from a place of compassion. Like, I really want to help you feel better about yourself, and here's how you do it. And so the first 5 chapters were very kind of ruffled, and and the last 5 were a little smoother. And so having to go back and find a medium, tone that flowed between the first half and the second half, I would say that was the most challenging part of my journey.
Awesome. Yeah. And I know that within the publishing process, especially the writing process, it tests you so much creatively. And also, the facts that you're really wanting to, instill in people, having a softer tone about some things, it's just
Mhm.
going back over them. And, that can be very, very trying, I know, for a lot of authors, but, it just, everything you're writing about is something that the need is so there. And so the way you said that you were just a different person starting the book and then ending up with the book, I think that's how so many authors feel, like it just kind of transforms them a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, and you want to make sure that you're not offending anyone. You want to make sure, because when you're going through that initial journaling process and just getting everything out on paper, you're not really thinking about those things. And by the time you have a finished book, you're like, oh, I want to make sure I'm not offending anyone. I want to make sure that people are understanding me the way that I, am intending to share this information. So there's just so many different components that you don't think about when you first start writing that you want to make sure are perfect as you finish the book. So it's a process. I think that was the most challenging process for me.
Definitely. Okay, so what was the most rewarding part of the publishing process? Flipping the script a little bit.
I would say picking the title. That I honestly think that was the most fun process.
Oh,
um, it was challenging because, oh my gosh, you take one word and add like 17 different words to it to see, is this going to be the right title? And you play with it over and over again. But I think it was a fun challenge for me.
yeah, and it's so funny with titling how many things go into choosing the title of a book. Is it SEO friendly? Are there, other books with the same titles? When you search this, what's coming up? There's so many things that kind of, impact a title and how it can impact sales as well. So
Mhm.
it's such a really creative process choosing a title, but it's also, there's so many things that go into that as well.
Yeah, it was definitely a learning process for me, but it was fun. It was exciting, because
Mhm.
that's the thing that people are going to look at and make a decision on whether they're going to pick up the book or not,
Definitely.
so you want it to be just right.
Yeah. And I love the title. Love it. All
Thank
right.
you.
What did you gain from publishing Boss Five? So have you grown as a thought leader?
I've learned so much through the publishing process itself. When I say that, I mean technically through the process. I learned so much about branding. I learned so much about branding strategy, um, and how much it impacts, how you present your material. Um, but the other piece of that is, there's information that and you share with the world. But when you're able to help people transform their personal and professional lives, to me, that's when you're also growing because you're learning ways to share that with other people and you're actually helping them change their lives. To me, that's been the most rewarding, and that's how I feel like I've grown as well.
Oh, that's so amazing to hear. I love when authors kind of allude to the fact that they wrote this book to, help other people, and hearing that it has helped other people and, hearing that great feedback really makes all of the struggling throughout the process worth it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right. Is there anything within the process that you would do differently next time around?
Yes. I will not take however many years it took me to write the book.
Sometimes for the first one, you need to take that time though.
I feel like if I had someone to hold my hand through the process from the very beginning, when I decided that I wanted to write a book, I feel like I could have done it in less than 6 months.
Mhm.
Um, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing now. I want to help people write their books, and I feel like I can write my book in 3 months now. My next book I can write in 3 months because I understand the process. I understand, the technicalities that go into that. And I also understand all the self-sabotage that I've worked through myself, the writer's block and how you work through that. I've learned the processes to work through all of that. And I now have tools. So much shorter process next time around.
Definitely. And with the first manuscript, I think it really, like I said, tests your creativity, tests a lot of different attributes. And so once you've done it one time around, I feel like the next time around for manuscript writing, it can be a little bit, now that you're expecting different things from the process. The first one is basically like your guinea pig. You're trying out a bunch of different things, but once you've done it once, the manuscript writing process, the next couple books does become easier. I've heard that from a lot of authors. So going into that, so I hear you have a new exciting project that you're launching. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, yes. So as I mentioned, I I didn't have the support that I felt would have helped me write my book faster, and with more confidence as well. And so that's what I want to offer to other people is to help them write their book. And so I'm launching a program next week. In fact, it starts next Wednesday, November the 11th. And so I will basically take you through start to finish and make sure that, I'm calling it Become an Author in 90 Days. It's essentially 12 weeks because we have holidays coming up very shortly here. But it's essentially at the end of the 12-week period, you will have a completed manuscript. And, the thing that was alarming to me is I recently discovered some stats around this is 97% of people want to write books, 3% start, and only 1% finish. And so, I felt like that's a place where I could give back now. And I want to help people be in that 1% who not only start, but finish their manuscript as well.
Definitely. So when you say become an author, so when you are talking about launching this program, so this is completing the manuscript that then these people are either going to start looking for publication. So it's start to finish building your manuscript, having it completed, and then looking for the next step of publication, correct?
Correct.
Awesome.
Yeah. And they can choose, whether they want to self-publish, whether they want to work with a publisher like yourself. So we'll have those conversations as well, but that will be the next step.
Definitely. But, completing that first initial outline manuscript it's such a hard process on authors. And so having someone like you who can help them do that, and then going to the publisher for, the editing process and, but having that fully completed manuscript that's almost the hardest part going through at first, because there's so much self-doubt. And we just did a video on imposter syndrome. And especially in writing, there's so much of that. So having someone like you who is helping them create that outline that is then ready to take to either a publisher like Greenleaf who can help them with the next steps, of the editing, production, and everything else, or, have the option to self-publish or have the option to, seek out a traditional publisher, but actually getting to that point of having a fully vetted, completed manuscript is awesome. And I think, having someone to coach you and let you know that you're on the right track, because like I said, there's so much self-doubt in writing that a lot of people, they will read a bad page and they will get so discouraged and start over. When in reality, it just needs some tweaks. It just needs some help.
Yeah. That's funny you say the word imposter syndrome. That's exactly the word that I used in my video a couple of weeks ago that I posted on Facebook. Because even though people are experts in their field, you could be an expert in, a field for 10 years, for 20 years, and people still feel that way. They still feel like they're not the expert. And so I think becoming an author, writing about your expertise really helps, gain credibility and kind of take you to that next level to say, okay, I'm an expert, but now I'm a recognized expert because I just wrote a book about it.
Exactly. And imposter syndrome actually happens to the most high achieving individuals. And something we covered this on one of our remote writing workshops last week. The lead editor at Greenleaf actually said the only time, if you're a writer and you're experiencing imposter syndrome, the only time where you're not a writer is when you're not writing. So if we're looking at it from just a purely, statistical analysis centric version of it, the only time you're not a writer is when you're not writing. So just keep writing.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely. Okay. So what inspired you to create this workshop for people?
As I said, it took me a very long time and I had to work through my own self-doubt. And I want to be able to guide people and work through that because there are tools, there are tools to work through those types of things. There are tools to work through. You're sitting in front of your laptop and you have a blank page and you have maybe 3 words on there and you're just kind of staring at it going, how do I get this from my head out onto the page? And there are tools that you can work through those type of scenarios. And so I want to be able to share that with people. And, it doesn't have to be hard. It can be a process that comes naturally to you. And so that's one of the biggest reasons that I want to do this, or that I am doing this.
Love it. All right. So who exactly are you looking for to join this workshop? Who's your target audience, you would say?
I would say my target audience is someone who is an expert in their field and they want to share with the world what they know, their experiences, the people that they've helped. Or if you have a personal transformation story, about your own life that you want to tell. Those are kind of the two areas of author to be's that I am looking to work with.
Awesome. Yeah. I feel like everybody has a story inside them. And especially, if you're, if you're a thought leader and you have that experience, you have that credibility, now is the perfect time to write this book. Because, something I like to talk about a little bit with it, with the world being in the current state that we're in, we've been given the gift of time, however way you slice it. And what are we going to do with 2020? Do we want it to be, that year that we're just going to say, all this stuff happened? Or do you want to have something to show for that year? Do you want to say, that's the year I completed my manuscript? That's the year I decided I wanted to become an author. That's the year I took the plunge, or I did this, or I did that. So let's make something of the rest of this year. I mean, we only have, so many days left. So let's do something with it.
I love that. I love that message, because by February, you can have a ready to publish manuscript through the program.
Definitely. So guys, I mean, you can say, 2020 has been a roller coaster ride, which it has, but you can also make it the year that you took that step, that you finally decided that this is what you want to do. Because now that we're spending more time at home and we have more to work on, why not create something amazing out of it?
And a lot of times we think that writing a book is a passion project. And so what happens to our passion projects? They're at the bottom of the list, right? We find so many other things to put above that one thing that we really want to do one day. So like you said, take the time now, take advantage of the fact that we are at home a lot more than we've ever been. And have a great accomplishment from 2020.
Definitely. So what can members expect to gain from this project?
So through this program, one of the things that I, again, am offering compared to what you may see out there on the internet is a lot of people sell book writing programs. And a lot of times those programs, they might be cheaper, they might be, shorter even. I've seen 30-day book writing programs online, but a lot of times those programs will give you just templates. They'll give you some direction. You'll get some regular emails and say, okay, here's how you do this. Go forth and conquer. With my program, you're essentially gonna have 12 one-on-one sessions with me. Now, every other week I'm having a group session, but they're very, very small groups, 5 people or less. And then the alternate weeks, I'm going to work with you one-on-one to make sure that you are working, you and I can work together through any challenge that you're having at the moment. And you will have a ready to publish manuscript, again, at the end of the 12 weeks. So that's the big differentiator in my program, is you get that one-on-one attention.
Definitely. And that's something, especially kind of like you mentioned, it can be such a hard process to do on your own, that really having, a team there to help you, or someone like you every step of the way to help, can really make that difference, especially with people who are experiencing that self-doubt, that self-imposter syndrome. So if anyone is interested, how can they contact you about this?
So they can just email me directly. My email is reachme@nita-patel.com. That's reachme@nita-patel.com.
Awesome. And I will put that actually in the footnotes to this video, so that people can just get that email there. But awesome. That wraps up actually our Ask a Greenleaf Author segment for today. Nita, thank you so much for joining us and telling us about, everything you experienced while writing your book, as well as telling us about this new venture you're launching. It sounds excellent, and I think a lot of people will really benefit from it. So we are thrilled to see all of your success, and we're so grateful to be, your chosen publishing partner on your first book, Boss Vibes. And we are looking forward to everything that you're doing, all the success that's going to come from that. So Nita, if anyone wants to buy your book, where can they get it?
Yeah, they can find it actually anywhere books are sold online. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Goodreads, and maybe we can put a link with this video to that.
Definitely. I will include the link to Nita's book as well. And that wraps up today's episode. So the guys, make sure to check back next week. We'll have new videos out next week. And Nita, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.